Now, for our second panel, titled Jordan, Your Gateway to Business Growth. Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Mr. Hussein Safadi, CEO of Aqaba Development Corporation, His Excellency Mr. Mothanna Gharaibeh, former Minister of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship, His Excellency Mr. Marwan Juma, Chairman of Kasih Food Production Company, and Mr. Michitaka MITSUI, General Manager of Mitsubishi Corporation, Amman Liaison Office. And of course, our moderator, Ms. Samar Abeid, Partner, MENA Markets Leader, Strategy and Transactions at Ernst & Young.
Oh, it's on. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody, and I'd like to welcome our distinguished panelists. Jordan has a lot of unique characteristics that position it as a gateway for business growth in the region. And these include the location, connectivity, human resources, and a lot of other things. So today I'm excited to discuss this very topic with our distinguished panelists. And let me start with His Excellency, Mr. Hussein, who is joining us through Zoom. Mr. Hussein, Aqaba has a relatively new business development strategy. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what are the unique attraction from a business perspective and investment perspective for Aqaba compared to a lot of other development areas that are coming up in the region right now, and NEOM is also next door. So what are the unique characteristics of Aqaba, and what sectors do you feel have a competitive advantage for Jordan to attract businesses in Aqaba? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samar, and it's a great pleasure to be participating. And unfortunately, I couldn't be part of that physically. Actually, in Aqaba Special Economic Zone, we are focusing on 6 main elements that we do believe that will support positioning Aqaba as a hub in this region and to be competitive in all sectors. The main sectors that we are focusing on is the tourism, the manufacturing, logistics, green growth, creative industries, and skills and vocational. Because we have the capabilities, we have that strategy, the midterm and the short-term strategy, and we have the action plan for that. Most probably, we are focusing on currently on the manufacturing and the logistics, because we do believe that it will create more jobs for Jordanians, and it will support the overall supply chain and logistic port community system in our district. This is very important for us, and we are approaching the private sector. We have the investment kit and the package that we can tackle the private sectors and all stakeholders from the government, so we can be able to implement and execute within that strategy. As you said, Samar, I will not say the competition. There is mega projects around Aqaba Special Economic Zone. We do believe that we can complement other mega projects such as the NEOM, and we had very healthy discussions with the NEOM and the management of NEOM in terms of human resources, in terms of our handling process through our ports, in terms of our vocational, in terms of many issues that we can support and we can cooperate. And by the way, today we have a visit from His Excellency the Prime Minister that he will be visiting the borders actually today and tomorrow to see the plans for the new borders, Birra borders between Saudi Arabia and Aqaba, that ADC will be developing, starting to mobilize this year, expecting 2 years to have proper and high standard borders that can support the relation between the connectivity between NEOM and Aqaba Special Economic Zone.
Thank you very much. One very interesting sector, growth sector, is the semiconductor business. And Jordan is uniquely positioned to be a partner to a lot of companies in this sector. And Your Excellency, Mr. Mothanna, maybe you can explain to us how can Jordan be a partner to a lot of Japanese and other companies in this very special sector?
Thank you, Samar, and thank you to the organizers and to our Japanese friends. I think I personally, I speak on behalf of many people my age. We owe you our innovation, our dreams when we were children, our values. We all lived on Japanese cartoons through Japanese TVs. So you have built a lot of what we are right now. So thank you. So this dream could have been developed because I watched Japanese cartoons when I was young. I'll try to go through a few slides if you allow me, and I hope I will not be boring. It's not on the screen yet, please. Thank you. Can I stand up? Yeah, what we're trying to do here is to become the semiconductor partner, trusted partner globally for the leaders such as Japan. Japan used to have 50% of the market share globally. Right now, you have 14% of the market share, and you have taken the decision to move forward, and that we want to be your partners in. And needless to say, how much strategically on the highest levels of the countries that we're together. And His Majesty was there only a few months ago, and he has a soft spot for Japan in his heart, and we appreciate, as Jordanians, this relationship forever. I'll explain a little bit on the global supply chain of the semiconductors. Many of you know it, but I'll just try to make it quickly. This is around $570 billion. There are three phases of the supply chain: the pre-silicon, the wafer fabrication, and post-silicon part. $570 billion, but the economy depending on that is around $3.3 trillion. So it's 2.5, more than twice the oil economy. So this is the economy of the future. That's why you guys... Did I lose the mic? No, I'm good. Good. So the pre-silicon, which is the design verification, the thing that the barrier to entry is know-how, is people who are smart, committed, and capable, is $100 billion. 30% of that is being outsourced globally. The second part of the supply chain, which is a lot happening right now in Taiwan, 90% of the most advanced chips are happening here in Taiwan, is around $440 billion. And this is a geographical, political risk, as we all know. It has to be diversified. And the post-silicon, which is the packaging and testing, the OSATs, the back-end sites, is happening a lot in Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, to help Taiwan. What we're trying to do, Jordan can tap into the two steps, post and pre-silicon. We can tap into this, but in a few years when we finish our water desalination, because this requires a lot of water. I don't need to explain to you your strategy, but it's obvious you've done your homework. You've done a lot of preparation, and the focus is on getting back on the leadership, working with like-minded people, especially the US, and here comes Jordan. We're a good ally for both countries. We can provide you with the resources to take it forward. And you have created a framework for that. You've created a setup that can generate the 2 nanometer semiconductor in the next few years. And it's obvious that you want to have a global cooperation, and here we come. The basic principles for cooperation, it has to be with open markets, transparency, and free trade. Shared values that we highly commit to in Jordan. And the objective to strengthen the supply chain and resilience for Japan and the US and like-minded countries. That's you speaking, and we stand up to say that we're here to partner. I will not take a lot of time on this. Those are the two risks that we have right now in the semiconductor industry. The universe have found out that it's too vulnerable, it's too politically concentrated, geographically concentrated, and it can be at a huge risk if we can keep it that way. And the biggest challenge is talent. And this is where we come in as a country. That's a survey that's done by your good selves, Jitro, that 88% of the Japanese companies believe that talent is the biggest challenge for the coming years. And you are expecting 600,000 IT experts gap in the next 7 years. That's a lot. And you know what our biggest problem is? Unemployment. We have 50,000 unemployed engineers in Jordan right now. So your biggest problem is our biggest problem. Let's make them both solutions for each other. Security. I don't need to explain a lot about being too dependent on China. You know that it's a huge risk, and the universe have decided. Europe yesterday just did their CHIPS Act properly as the US did it, and you have done it with the US. It's something that we need to make sure that we diversify. We cannot keep that industry geographically concentrated in one place and in a place where you don't trust your IP. And Jordan is well positioned politically, economically, and technically to support. There's talent availability, shared values, and security and resilience. I mean, 22% of our graduates are in STEM. That's a lot, and I think we're the third globally in that number. 1 out of 40 in Jordan is an engineer. And the technology sector employs 3 times as much as the other sectors. So it's an enabler. I mean, technology is a tool for justice. It creates opportunities when resources are scarce. And this is a very good opportunity for us to take. Those are examples of Jordanians who are working in Japan or have supported Japanese businesses. I think you all know Rakuten. This is the CEO. He's a Jordanian who has been able to contribute to the Japanese economy. Sanad Bushnaq has IP that's available on every smartphone in this room. He worked in Toshiba Memory. He went to our schools, our university, and went and did his PhD in Japan, and now he's a Japanese citizen. Hatem Zain has created wireless charging solutions, and he has just agreed with Toyota to remove copper from the cars. It will reduce 70 pounds of copper from the cars of Toyota in a few years. So Jordanians can contribute to the Japanese, and we want to make it at scale. We've done it before. We've done it a lot with American companies. And we're ambitious enough to be able to serve you guys. Because what do you need? You need talented people who are skilled and capable and committed. That's who are serving Cisco, Microsoft, multinational companies. And actually, for example, Cisco is being served by a Jordanian company. It's not Cisco. It's outsourced to a Jordanian company. The CEO is with us here. Talent cost. This is very important. I mean, our claim is that we provide Eastern European quality with close to India prices. Not India prices, but close to India prices. Because it's not, what we're trying to position ourselves is not that we're not only the low-cost country. No, we're not the low-cost country. We're the high-value, competitive cost structure. And this is from Glassdoor. You can see the China versus Jordan. If you want to do business, you can rely on us. Security, which is a very important thing in the semiconductor industry. I mean, Jordan is as safe as Denmark, safer than Sweden, Vietnam, and India. I mean, it makes sense only to do it here. Energy resilience. I mean, everybody on Earth is trying to go to net zero by 2050. If you want carbon dioxide footprints, you can come to Jordan. We are 27% renewable, and our quality of energy is double the China, 69 times India. I mean, in interruptions of the energy and availability. So this is something we're proud of, and we paid a big price to make it this way. Jordan can help. Many of the Japanese companies are in Europe. And if you go back to the first slide where I explained, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam helps Taiwan. We want to be the Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam for Europe. And those Japanese companies, and I'm glad I'm going to meet Mr. Mitsui. I could not find him since the morning. They're in Europe. They do the wafer fabrication in Europe. The packaging and testing could be streamlined, cost-efficient, and cost-competitive in Jordan. And when you do it in Jordan, you have access to global countries that have free trade agreements with Jordan. All those. Europe, the US, Canada, Singapore, UK after Brexit. So you get access to market, and I want to go back to Mr. Fukuyama's presentation. You don't need to expect profit in Jordan. Jordan is a small market. We are your base to the global markets. That's how you can use us. I mean, getting money out of Jordan is not a lot, but you can use us to sell your products and services and innovation globally. IP protection, that's a very important subject in this industry. And Jordan is compliant to all the global agreements for that. And we rank, for example, in one of the rankings, 43, while India is 58. But still, people still rely on India. It went 5 slides ahead, I'm sorry. But it's okay, I can save the time. But I found out that the Japanese labor market, which you have done the survey for, you outsource 31% to Vietnam, 20% to India, 17% to China, and 0 to Jordan. I have one resource who's working for me and from Japan. That's it. We can do much more. We have the engineers, and none of them speaks Japanese. They all speak English, and I claim that we speak English better than all those countries. We can do that for you. That's why we're hoping that we can build something together, both in design and packaging and testing. And we would like that opportunity very much. Thank you so much.
So Their Excellencies, Mr. Hussein and Mr. Mothanna spoke about the opportunity. So Marwan, let's bring things to ground now. You've been involved in a lot of businesses in Jordan, so maybe, including Kasih food production company. So maybe you can tell us about concrete experiences of how Jordanian companies can actually grow in Jordan and also in regional countries based in, through their base in Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you, Samar, and it's a pleasure being here. It's an honor to address this esteemed crowd. Many of you know me wearing, as you mentioned, different hats. Prior hats was being a minister of ICT, and you notice a common trend in ministers of ICT, lack of hair, and our current minister of economy is following our trend as well. So he's still trying to hide some of his, but it's okay. So I'll try to follow a very interesting presentation that was done by Mothanna, maybe following on the same themes that you will hear throughout the presentations. I'll talk about the food industry. I'm not an expert in it, but these are numbers. I'll speak about numbers from the Chamber of Industry. The food industry in Jordan is about, in terms of size, last year was about $6.5 billion. But the value add is about $2.5 billion. Our exports have reached last year about $850 million. And with this year's growth, expect to reach $1 billion. We employ 50,000 Jordanians, about 25% of the workforce in the industrial sector. We reach 111 countries in terms of our exports. So the hub story is a real story. The fact that Jordan is small, that some may think is a curse, is actually an advantage, because most of our entrepreneurs look outside Jordan's boundaries. We're a small country when it comes to purchasing power. We're a small country when it comes to size. But our market is about $1 billion in terms of size. When you talk about the Levant, Middle East, North Africa, and even Europe and beyond, we tend to look by default outside Jordan. And that's why we're very entrepreneurial in terms of attitude and thinking. And it applies to ICT, it applies to all sorts of industries, and it applies to the food industry as well. So the hub story is a real story, because that's what Jordan's edge is for our Japanese friends. And when we talk about addressing different markets in the region, it's not about the Arabic language. It's not the left to right. It's the culturalization. It's understanding the details of the Arab culture. It's the small nuances that can make or break an investment. And Jordanians, if you travel in the Gulf, and many of our Japanese friends, I'm sure, have been in the Gulf and beyond, we will find most of our Jordanian colleagues working in the Gulf. We have contributed to building many of the regional countries. So we have the capacity, the know-how, and the ability to grow outside Jordan. I will speak briefly about Kasih food, because it's a story of Jordan in a way. This company was established back in 26 as a family business in the food industry, with the vision of bringing Mediterranean flavors and taste to the rest of the world. So from day one, it looked outside Jordan. The company I'll share today, one of the largest companies in the group, is basically focusing on the production of hummus, tahini, and other flavors. And instead of showing you these products, I've actually left you samples on your way out so you can try Kasih products. This is for our Japanese friends, please, not for the Jordanians. So Jordanians, you know about Kasih. Let's leave the gifts to our Japanese friends on the way out. But the story basically started as a family business, one owner, that has grown to 600 employees now, that works in 50 countries, that is expanding globally. And what the owner did, which is quite unusual and unique, being a family-owned business, he decided, Khalid al-Kasih, if I want to grow and expand and become a global player, I must build the processes and build an institution that can survive me down the line. So he brought in a board initially of 7 independent directors that each one an expert in their own domain to help him run the business and that he reports to. So as an owner, he reports to us as independent directors to help him grow outside Jordan. What's unique about the company, which is typical Jordanian, is there's IP as well. A lot of companies in Jordan produce their own IP, and you mentioned Mothanna, some of the people you mentioned are very, we look at the very high end of the value chain in terms of what we can do. So our products, what's unique about El Kasih, not only that they taste good, is they can last at ambient temperature for 2 years with 0 preservatives. So it's not only how do you approach markets, how do we expand, it's what can make us unique. What are our unique selling points? And this is what Jordanians constantly focus on. If we want to compete globally, we have to think what will make us different. And that has been the story of this company. So it's a story of entrepreneurial spirit. It's a story of people looking outside Jordan. It's a story of people working out of Jordan and looking at the rest of the world. And if you want to if you want to position Jordan, for me, Jordan is 3 things. It is an open-air museum in terms of what you see when it comes to tourism, the uniqueness of Jordan at all levels in terms of historical, religious, culture, and the beauty of the country. It is really a hub for people who want to look at the region and beyond and set their businesses here, and we have amazing track records here. But it's also a story of partnerships where you can partner with Jordanian talent and IP to address the region and beyond. So that's the story of Kasih. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to engaging with you outside when we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for providing like an example of a Jordanian company's potential growth. And now, Mr. Mitsui, I think, you know...
oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, we are in Japan, in Guillermo stores. So we are in your superstores in Japan and growing. I forgot to mention that, an important point. I apologize.
Mr. Mitsui, Mitsubishi is like, you know, does not need any introduction. It's one of the largest business investment and trading and management companies around the world. And we're very proud that you've been operating in Jordan for over 50 years. So maybe I think everybody's interested in like, you know, hearing about your experience as establishing your business in Jordan, and also how do you use it as a gateway for your expansion in the region?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Mothanna-san, can I? Thank you. Good morning. Bit confusing. My name is Mitsui because the first panel, Mitsui company already presented. But I'm now working for Mitsubishi. So before starting, I just explain my human network with Jordan and the Middle East. After I joined Mitsubishi in 1994, my first visit to this region is Amman and Baghdad at the time to set up an Iraqi office in Amman to cover the Iraqi business under the United Nations sanctions. After that, I spent in total 7 years in Dubai to cover the Middle East regional strategy in Mitsubishi. So basically 2 or 3 times per year, I visited Jordan at that time. And this one? Okay. Already Mr. Katayama of Mitsui explained about the Japanese trading and the investment firm. Same as those our competitor, our colleague, Japanese trading firm. We are doing basically starting from the trading, but we are always changing the business model so that right now the investment is the main activity all over the world. We right now say more than 200 offices and subsidiaries in the region. So Jordan, I'd like to explain the current activity now. And after that, 50 years history, how we do the business, a long-term relation from the 1970s. As you can see, the light-framed photos are the current business of Mitsubishi in Jordan. Right now, we have 2 investments similar to Mitsui company in the IPP power sector. Right side top photo is IPP3 in East Amman. And the second one is as sponsored by Shamsman, we had an honor to have a first renewable IPP in Jordan for the Middle East. That was the joint venture with the Jordanian partnership with the Kawar Group. And historically, if you look at the left side top frame photos, we have been doing the fertilizer trading, which Dr. Dre touched upon in the first panel discussion. That one is the APC potash, the produced from the Dead Sea. And the right side on the last one is the phosphate, JPMC. There's a mines in the southern part of the Jordan, it's the Sidia mines. They are producing the phosphate rock, exporting to Japan and all over the world. And the last one on the left side bottom is the NJFC. That stands for the Nippon Jordan Fertilizer Company. They are now producing very high quality of NPK compound to Japan and all over the world. I just skipped the blue one. It's not the business, but the CSR. It's a kind of a social contribution to Jordan. The biggest one is the Petrolas PV system donation in more than 10 years ago to supply the certain electricity to the World Heritage Petrola. And I just want to touch that this year we decided and got approval from the head office to have a certain water utilization project in eastern area of Amman, collaborating with Jordanian NGO and Jordanian school people. So let me next touch upon the, say, 50 years history between Jordan and Mitsubishi. As you can see, our history starts from the 1970s because of the civil war in Beirut, Lebanon. Same like other trading firms, we tentatively move our regional headquarters from Beirut to Amman. At the same time, Mitsubishi started trading of the fertilizers, namely the potash of APC and the phosphate rock from JPMC, to not only Japan, but all over the Asia and the Oceania region. But in 80s, a bit business model changes that we have a certain plant business supported by the Japanese government financing. Major one is a cement plant. I heard from my senior that that was the first cement plant in the region at that time, followed by Egypt or other region countries. And also we had a power plant in Aqaba in 80s. It was almost 40 years, so that right now it's a standby power. But that was the 80s business model. In 90s, we had an honor to have a joint venture with APC and JPMC of the NJFC in 1992 in Aqaba. They started operation 1999 and still are producing the very Japanese ways, high quality products to produce and export all over the world. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances in Japan changes, so that recently we regret to say that Mitsubishi or other Japanese company divested from the NJFC. But I was honored and pleasure to hear from the NJFC people that they decided still they are using the company name Nippon. And when we visited the factory, the Japanese flag always shown at the factory side. And also it's a pleasure that the plant manager would like to continue to run the factory as the Japanese way. Around 2000, the high-level human network starting for more than 20 years. Actually, in 2001, our former chairman, Mr. Sasaki, became the chairman of Japan-Jordan Association. After that, frankly speaking, he had lots of opportunity to meet His Majesty. Right now, in total, 70 times in last 20 years. And during that period, even we divest from the fertilizer sector, we got opportunity to invest in 2 IPP power sector projects. So where we are now, I just want to touch upon this year's event. In April, when His Majesty visited Japan, Mr. Sasaki, together with me, had an honor to meet His Majesty and Crown Prince as well. And also, the time of the Crown Prince wedding reception, just the day before, there is an official launch of the Jordan-Japan friendship. At that time, we also had an honor to meet first time with Prince Hassan. And maybe left side, Miss Sifa, his former Japanese ambassador's wife, be the kind of the passionate to have a good and a long-standing relationship between Jordan and Japan. So, as 2 other excellencies explain about semiconductor, food, or any other new development in Aqaba, we are happy to be here to talk on this session after the networking. What will be the next for the next opportunity to do the business together? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes our session. I'd like to thank our amazing panelists, and I hope you were successful in showcasing some of the growth opportunities in Jordan. I'm sure you have a lot of questions to the panelists, but due to time constraints, you can ask them or connect with them during the networking sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished panelists, for that discussion. Your experience and your perspective is very valuable to all of us.